What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 4 of my Total War Warhammer 3 Yuan Bo Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, the war in Cathay has begun in earnest as we've declared war upon the clan Eshin Skaven, and Lokir Felhart has declared war upon us. He ultimately failed in his first attack, being a siege of Jiangxi, and his army was by and large, at the very least, heavily damaged, if not destroyed. I assume that the rest of them have backed up to Chimai, and we will have to give chase, but obviously we'll need more units in this army and others before we can do so with at the proper level, let's say. In terms of what we gotta do this episode, there's a little tiny army here, although this one might be auto-resolvable. It's really Yuan Bo versus Mazdamundi that we are interested in here, and I mean real interested. So this is going to be what we're getting up to. First of all, let's do the buildings, and let's do whatever other moves we can, and then we'll head on in to fight Mazdamundi. Alright, so first of all, we have, guess we're gonna level up the Isle of the Crimson Skull first. We do have the money after all, and the money, if nothing else, is not a problem at the current time. I will want to switch these later. It's not super expensive to change them. This place, wait, once again, I just... yeah, this place will probably want income from buildings. Oh, but then again, we're using construction cost reduction now. We can switch them later. Yeah, it's fine, it's fine. I want to reduce the admin. In the early portions of the game, you are going to get up and running as well. And let's get the gem mine up and running. We'll repair you. Hopefully you won't get attacked again, Village of the Moon, but we shall see. And the public order is dropping quite a bit everywhere. But, well, we'll deal with it as we go. We are collecting income here in Machu Peaks, though maybe we'll want to turn this off just so that... Oh, it's only a -4 difference? Yeah, it's probably not enough of a difference for us to care about. The negative growth is really quite problematic. And we may have to use the War Compass, or not the War Compass, the Whooshing Compass in general to get bonus growth, as otherwise it may be problematic. Anyway, let's move you... Oh, you've leveled up to level 10, which means you have Bound Earthblood, which is the obvious pick here. Windblast, Fire... Who would ever pick Fireball? Has anybody ever picked Fireball in this? I can see some situations where you want to pick Bound a Wind Blast, which is pretty decent, even if you do have Dragon's Breath. And Fozz Protection I do like, although are you able to overcast this, or is this just a single cast? Because single cast, not so worth it. But yeah, Earthblood all the way. Fireball. I still just really don't like Fireball. But anyway, let's move everybody else around. Yishi, you're going to support. I think we'll auto-resolve this one, mostly because they have absolutely no chance here. A bunch of Skaven slaves against a bunch of Jade warriors, and then we'll get the proper fight against Mazdamundi. Alright, yeah, decisive victory and probably decently little casualties. Yeah, we're okay. Let's heal up so that we can keep on going. I do imagine that you will be unable to reach Kunlun. We could head out to Jade Wind Mountain next if we wanted to. Neither one of you can reach it, however. Which is a shame, but whatever. Let's move here, and then you can move into, I guess, here as well, and then we'll attack it next turn. I'm not entirely sure whether we'll need both armies, but at least this way, one of them will be poised to reinforce a Chimai as well. Okay, so he is still out here, with another army in tow as well. But we do have our garrison, and somehow I doubt he's going to attack, so you, instead, can keep recruiting. We do have our 2 Iron Hail Gunners here, and I am inclined to make this army to be more or less a ranged army, but for now it'll still need at least some Jade Warriors to hold the line. That's probably never not going to be true. And just to round out the roster a little bit, let's get a few more Peasant Archers in here as well. It's probably more than a few more, but hey, just fill up the armies as best we can. Plus, we don't need this Dragon-Blooded Shugengun here at the current time, which means, unless you have items, which you don't, we can get rid of you, and we can save quite a bit of money on not having that extra lord. Frankly, we should join 2 of these armies together so that we don't have an unnecessary lord crippling our income, but we'll deal with it later. Anyway, Yuan Bo, it's your time to shine. We're going to level up Shunma the Alchemist, and out of all this, I'm still inclined to say either Glittering Robe or Gehenna's Golden Hounds, both of which I do use quite a bit. Or just get metal shooter. Well, we're probably going to want to get the passive eventually anyway. And I still haven't decided on what I want for your enhanced metallurgy. At the end of the day, they're all reasonably fine. The magic attack imbuement happens anywhere, so it's just a choice between the damage, straight up damage or poison or whatever, but I feel like the magics are probably going to be the better pick, although it's a significant buff. It's only 20 seconds long. Let's go for Gehenna's Golden Hounds, the spammable stuff that we're liable to use multiple times per battle. We're not going to level up Yuan himself, mostly because we're waiting to level 12 so that he can get his special ability. Otherwise, we're ready to go, try to face off against Mazda Mundi himself. That Reviv Crystal is going to be our main target, though we will have to watch out for the Saurus, as they are most definitely not to be underestimated. Here we go.
All is part of the celestial harmony. If we win, our enemies will flee, and Cathay will endure.
Well, you're not in Cathay anymore, but I suppose it could still endure. Anyway, here we go. I'm excited about this one. Mazda Mundi and his main stack against that of Yuan Bo. Now, the enemy does have some better situation. Honestly, if the roles were reversed, I'd have to pick the Lizard Army over our army. They have significantly more Saurus Warriors than we do Jade Warriors, for example, and Mazda Mundi himself is at a higher level, though I suppose luckily not on Zlak. As if he was on Zlak, I think it would be much more problematic. On the bright side, however, I do think that we have a decent terrain advantage in this cliffside here that we've seen, I think, before in this campaign, but certainly in other campaigns in terms of fighting enemies, and the lizards in particular, and this side of the map will make it a lot easier by virtue of that terrain advantage. Anyway, we're going to start the battle off by moving just a couple of our units of peasant archers forward in order to try our best to annoy some of those enemy skink cohorts with javelins, mostly because I find the skink cohorts to be pretty threatening, generally speaking, and they could certainly do quite a bit of damage if we let them. In the meantime, our alchemist will completely fail with that fireball, launching it through the essentially trough that was left by the scroll of blast through the enemy units. Probably should have selected a different unit in terms of targeting rather than that. I'm going to get a quick charge in and some air on some skinks just to distract them long enough to allow our peasant bowmen to get a few extra shots up, and then we're going to run them away shortly. I think that thus far we've also not gotten a lot of mileage out of the bolt something, storm of bolts, bolt storm. It doesn't seem to really do that much damage, but maybe I'm just not sure entirely who to use this on, because it basically does no damage to an enemy unit like this, but it also doesn't seem to do any damage to a unit like Mazda or a Saurus Scarvet, maybe a Croxagor or something. They all seem to hit a single target, so it doesn't kill units in numbers. But generally speaking, I dislike magic missiles, so, you know, hardly a new thing for them to be underperforming. Anyway, the enemy is now annoyed enough to start moving towards our battle lines here. Yuan Bo was out in the center and waiting for the enemy, but he's not going to just sit out there and distract them, as I feel it generally is a little bit cheesy. As the enemy, however, tries to make it up the hill, we're going to stop them a little bit with the Gehenna's Golden Hounds in their way. Plus, just out of screen, we use the Jade Lion's Breath ability to do 2.1k damage, which ain't too bad either. Looks like at least some of the enemy units are going to be hurt by the time they get to us, and Yuan Bo will start fighting the enemy Saurus Scarvet in a nice little duel, though most likely we'll get more benefit from transforming him just because there's a lot of infantry to take care of, and he can do his death zoomies and threaten all of those Saurus. After all, both the Saurus Scarvet and Mazda Mundi will probably rout as soon as the Saurus are done for, if we can manage to take them all out. Anyway, here comes a pile of Kroxigors and more Sorcerer streaming in, and we're going to drop those Searing Dooms, or just that Searing Doom, upon them. Overcast, of course, by virtue of the larger area, and it looks like at the very least these units, the ones that have been hit by multiple spells from our Alchemist, are in pretty bad shape. It is also now time to start moving our aerial units out, the Longmaw Riders, as well as the various types of Crowmen, the Empress Crowmen, to drop their Nangao grenades upon this pile of enemy Saurus here, which are held nicely by this little X formation of Jade Warriors. There we go. Gotta love those grenades. Too bad the regular Crowmen don't carry those as well, but I guess that might be a little bit OP if they did. 6.7k damage and about, I don't know, half HP taken off of both those units. I love it. Anyway, the Longmaw Riders have dropped down and are attacking a Skink cohort, and the Crowmen will work together to go for another Skink cohort as well, just so that they don't chuck those javelins into our units. Alright, hopefully they don't kill too many of our Crowmen. I feel bad because they're adorable. Although, to be fair, the Skinks are adorable as well, so I don't know how to feel about this just now. Alright, Longmaw Riders poking away at the enemy Skink cohort, and a Saurus Spear unit. We're gonna get a little bit of help from that Jade Lion's Jade Lion Breath, or whatever the ability is called, as well. Of course, the Longmaw Riders will not survive in a contest with Saurus Spears, as they are too fragile to do so, but we'll back them off in a few seconds once the Skink cohort has routed. Otherwise, it looks like at least a decent portion of the enemy Saurus have essentially failed, and we're probably getting ready to transform Yuan Bo as well. He's very much softened up those Kroxigors, though unfortunately our peasant archers have been too weak to actually bring down the enemy Revivification Crystal. I have been trying to focus it down, but oh well. Not a big deal, we'll just kill everything else off, as it doesn't seem to be able to out-heal the damage that we are so far doing. Alright, and of course the Jade Warriors are still holding ground, and in the background the Crowmen and the Longmaw Riders simply hit those enemy units that are running away and prevent them from returning. Alright, and there we go. Finally, the transformation is here. The arrival of the Jade Zoomies is on approach, and down comes the dragon. And I'm sure that it'll do decently against the Kroxigors as well, as it just seems to have brought down a bunch of Saurus and a couple Kroxigors at the same time. Of course, for dueling enemy lords, we'll generally keep Yuan Bo in his human form, but for this sort of situation, it seems like the dragon form is the way to go. Plus, I really like Hazumi's animation. It's just very fun to watch. I would like to see a little bit more in the way of sync animations with the Zoomies versus a single entity large unit. Alright, well, let's check back on the battle. It's about 70% in our favor. A few enemy units did move around the back, and there are 2 units of Saurus Spears, or 2 units of Saurus, rather, and a Skink cohort facing off against a single unit of Peasants and a single unit of Jade Warriors. We have buffed them up, however, with a Glittering Robe upgraded, plus 69 armor on your units, and nice, and that should allow them to hold quite a bit better, while we periodically drop those Searing Dooms on the enemies as they are concentrated in the way that they are. It also looks like the enemy Bastillodon with Reviv Crystal is also about to go, and the Kroxigors are in pretty bad shape as well. And the Jade Lion has come for the Reviv Crystal. Probably should have sicked the Jade Lion upon it a little bit earlier. In fact, that might have been a little bit better. I just figured maybe the bowman would be able to bring it down, but heck. Live and learn, I suppose, though that is not so much true for the lizards, as they're having a very, very bad day and will be looking to chain route shortly. Mazdamundi is moving forward as well, and I'm not entirely sure what he is planning to do, but whatever it is, it's probably not going to work out so well either, especially as Yuan Bo has sighted him, and we're probably going to hit him a little bit with the with some spell work. Some of our crossbows will be firing into the backs of the enemy Temple Guard, which have foolishly turned their back to fight some Jade Warriors, who are in pretty bad shape, but they are fighting the Temple Guard, while a duel is happening between the dragon and the toad. Alrighty, and it looks like we have, yeah, Mazdamundi is done. He will rout, and so will the rest of his army. Yuan Bo had absolutely no trouble with that and has gotten a decent amount of damage out as well. We're going to get a few more arrows into Mazdamundi's side, and it looks like the arrows are a little bit more effective against him than they were against the Bastion. X will mark the spot one more time, and the Executioner's blade will come down, and the Toad will teleport out. Alrighty, now to bring down the Basti with the Revive Crystal as well, just so that it doesn't come back as we auto-resolve the remnants of this force, though it looks like there is not too much in the way of enemy forces remaining. Lovely. It's interesting that the Jade Lions look a little bit more lively than the Tomb King construct counterparts. Something about the way that they move, well, maybe not even the way that they move, but the way they stand still. The necromantic constructs seem a little bit more robotic, which I also like very much. Seems appropriate. Anyway, with the enemy army routing, we're going to speed this battle up. It was a pretty darn fun battle, and looks like at least one of our units of bows ran out of ammunition. Another one was very, very close to it. The hill really helped us out with this impassable terrain, and obviously in the background, our flying units were able to chase down quite a few more enemies as well. Unlike the Skaven, well, I wouldn't say quite unlike the Orcs, but definitely unlike the Skaven, there is good reason to actually chase the enemy off, as the Saurus are slow enough to catch, and we should be able to destroy so many of them. And there we go. Apparently a close victory, but I'm willing to bet that the damage wasn't really all that high, especially compared to the ammunition expended to bring those Saurus down. Alrighty, very nice. Mazdamundi goes down, and so does his, I guess, starting army, his Temple Guard, his Vasti with Revive Crystal, and his Karoxagors, plus all those Saurus. Lovely. And the rewards are pretty nice. And while I'd love to get the 1500 gold, I think we're going to have to replenish here, because we have more lizard action that awaits. Now, we could... Let's see, wait. So, defeated Mazdamundi, 25% leadership aura. That's very, very oh man, I got spoiled by SFO's superior abilities or superior defeat traits. Now, we have 1 to 2 turns, rather, until Hexoatl is complete. So we have 2 options here. The first option being to besiege Hexoatl directly and try to force them into a fight, which will of course mean all of those extra units. But the thing is, we'd have to force them into a fight right now, so we'd have to actually besiege the place, and we have no way of taking towers down with this particular army. So the other option would be to return to our territory, hope that we can sit here for a turn, and then besiege them again anyway, as long as it's before it upgrades to tier 3. And while it would be nice to take it at tier 3, though, it would probably mean a lot more scary units to fight with. So we have 1 turn, essentially. We should probably destroy the remnants of this army, as there's another little one coming up. So let's do this. Although, wait, if we do, we probably won't be able to uncamp. Although, I guess we don't need to recruit. We just need to return to our territory. Yeah, alright, fine. Take out Mr. Sholgar here. And I'll resolve it. A little bit more XP wouldn't go amiss either. And then replenish a teensy bit more. Then, please tell me, yes, we can just barely return to our... own territory, which is what we wanted. Potion of Foolhardiness we don't care about. The healing that we can get here we do, and we did reach rank 12 from that. Fantastic. Meaning, cooldown for spells, here recruit rank for Astromancers, though we don't have any yet. Bureaucrat of the highest order, I don't care about the control, but the construction cost for all buildings faction-wide is fantastic. Diplomatic relations with humans and elves, nice to have very early, and even more leadership horror size in human form, eh? I guess maybe stacking that with Mazdamundi wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Upkeep reduction, Heart of Order and own territory, and ooh, spell resistance. And hero capacity even further for Astromancers. That's all great. We don't have Astromancers yet, so we'll get Celestial Court Overseer next. But first we'll get closest to the heavens. So actually, wait. Spell intensity plus 50%. I mean, really all we're casting is Shem's Burning Gaze right now, and we do want to get more spells up and running. But yeah, I want to get his entire unique chain, unique line, whatever, up and running, and then we'll deal with it afterwards. Ooh, that 30% cost reduction, really doing it for us as well. Once again, we were using Glittering Robe and Gehenna's Golden Hounds there, so keep going into it, and then we'll continue going through the other portions of your tree. We can also go into channeling stance here to get a little bit more magic for the upcoming fights. We got still plenty of fights for Yuan Bo here, and I guess we may want to build another army here. I don't want to spread too thin with regards to the armies, but oh well. And oh man, I just realized we upgraded a bunch of stuff, but now we have the reduction, so we could save money by canceling and rebuilding it. Man, alright, fine. Just do it. In the early game, it's pretty valuable, even if it isn't as much in the late game. Alright, and anything else that we need to redo? Gem mine, I didn't do you. And we'll do so now, and I believe we're good. Now, diplomacy. We got bonuses with humans and elves of various types. Hunts Marshal's expedition wants a defensive agreement, which we may get, but it really depends on what happens between them and Bretonia, and whether they take the territories that we want. Otherwise... We'll want to send a hero or a single lord all the way to Ulthuan in order to get trade agreements going with them as fast as possible, because it'll both strengthen us and strengthen Ulthuan. Also, what building will allow us to get Astromancers? Because we need those on the field ASAP now. And that'll be... Wait, this is Alchemist. This is Astromancer, so it's the Jade Lion building. Okay. Or Jade and Jet Lion. The Lion building. And we want war compasses in this army anyway, so that's just fine. We'll build it in maybe Pahwaks. Although, Pahwaks, 2 ports, and... this would actually be a pretty decent... Actually, 3 ports. Yeah, this will be a commercial district. Maybe Pahwaks shouldn't be our military territory. I mean, we might actually be better off using the Isle of the Crimson Skull for that purpose. I will think about it. There's lots of good territories here. Anyway, let's select our tech, and then let's continue. Horse bonding, irrelevant. Income from sacking settlements, irrelevant. Jade Stance's Vigor Loss reduction. I don't care about the armor for the peasants, but I do care about the general buffs like melee attack for everything and everybody. There's armor for all the Jade Warrior types units. Peasant crossbows, or peasant archers, and you know what? Peasant archers, Celestial Dragon crossbows, and Jade Warrior crossbows. We haven't had those run out of ammunition, but the archers, the peasant archers, certainly have, and I really think that we want to probably get some use out of that. And then, of course, the Grace of Chua Yin will give us reduction for Yin units, which will include all of the range units, which we're building more and more of, so I think that also is something that's a decent idea to pick up. Alright, man, lots and lots of upgrades for Peasant Long Spears, which are actually a very good, cheap unit, but considering that, especially in campaign, Jade Warriors aren't expensive in the first place, it feels like it doesn't matter. Let's end the turn, let's go next turn. We are good in terms of the Ivory Road. I hope I didn't forget anything, but if I did, it's too late now. And Hexoatl will indeed attack us again. Interesting, interesting. I was not quite expecting that. I was expecting them to sit in their city, but I suppose they think that because we're hurt and in our own territory, Actually, that has nothing to do with being in our own territory, but because we're hurt, but terrible idea. It's a lizard extermination kind of episode, as we'll fight this cinematically as well. Close victory after all, and it'll cost us a unit loss if we don't fight it, so here we go again.
These villains dare stand against us, against the Celestial. Let us show them their hubris in the moments before their deaths. Cathay, with me!
Alrighty, I'm really loving the longer pre-battle speeches. They should, well, they're probably not gonna get the voice actors to come back for some of the older lords that say like one word pre-battle, but oh well. Although I suppose that in terms of personality, certainly some lords may not be. Maybe lords, a few words, etc. But anyway, here we go, lizards, round number 2, and, well, round 2 rather, and it looks like we have a little bit of decent terrain this time around. Ooh, you know what? I should have actually deployed here. That probably would have been better than what I decided to do, which was deploy up here instead. But we could have really made use of this choke point here. Oh well, next time. I kind of wanted to take this slightly higher elevation point here, and if we had deployed here, I guess we would have had lower elevation, and the enemy might have been able to chuck their javelins down upon us, which may have been a little bit more to their advantage, but only slightly, as the choke point would have completely screwed them over anyway. Anyway, we're going to speed this up a little bit as we wait for the enemy to come to us. They did attack us this time around, which means we're free to wait for them to come forward, and that is what we shall do. Everybody's bracing and waiting. Does that shield effect that these guys have, the Jade Warriors, activate when they start bracing? I wonder when it activates. Well, I suppose either way, the army awaits the enemy's arrival, and here come the lizards. I'm not super afraid of this particular force, as we've already faced off against Mazdamundi, and he had Temple Guard and Karoxagors and a Reviv Crystal, plus he himself on the field, which was much more than these guys have here. Surprisingly decently bright map, despite the fact that it's a night battle. You can see one of the moons overhead. I don't see Morsleb. I only see Mansleb, but whatever. Oh, wait, I guess Morsleb is that one? It's not very green, though. Interesting. I would expect it to be greener, but anyway, I'm getting distracted by the moonlight when there's killing afoot, so let's turn back to the battle here. A few of those Jade Warriors moving out in front of the rest of their forces. That Dragon Breath, or Lion Breath, I guess, coming in from our Lion friend, while Yuan Bo tries to hunt down the enemy lord, specifically the first of the enemy lords, which is the red-crested Skink Chief. There is a second one on the field as well that came in as a reinforcement, who will be a Source Old Blood instead, but I don't think either lord has much of a chance to deal with the Jade Dragon. And that said, the Jade Dragon is more likely going to be used here to attack enemy units and not the enemy lord. I guess the enemy lord taking a few extra hits wouldn't be too bad, but it's easier to mince the units and then deal with the lords later, or just allow them to rout. That must be nice for morale to be watching the dragon deal with this. Also, I love the Jade Dragon scales matching all the Jade Warrior stuff. Here comes a Jade Lion Breath. There's so much Jade happening in here. And I still think they should have recolored the Searing Doom specifically for Yuan Bo's faction, so that it was like Jade projectiles coming down instead. It would have been such an easy thing, right? I feel like you just would have had to change a couple of the color codes, and that's it. As I imagine, as well, so there's a lot of recolored spells and abilities and stuff, so yeah. Anyway, the battle line is still holding. The Source are certainly having a little bit of a tough time breaking through, which is why you gotta love these, you got to love those Jade Warriors and their heavy armor, for the same reason that early game dwarfs are the bane of the existence of a number of early game factions. They're difficult to take on for lizards, for Tomb Kings, for vampire counts, etc. etc., because of all that early game armor. Well, we have the exact same advantage in the form of the Jade Warriors, even if our armies are generally, or even in the situation where our armies may be inferior, we still have the armor to rely on and a very tough, cheap main line. Anyway, the battle is continuing to go our way. The bounce power is about 80%, I would say, in our favor, and the enemy center line has in fact already collapsed, or at the very least failed to break through and collapse. The two flanks remain fighting, but that's about as expected, and is generally what happens in battles anyway. Yuan Bo is now chasing down that Saurus Oldblood. At this point, I figured we may as well switch to the enemy lord and execute him. And maybe that will be sufficient in the way of a morale shock to get the enemy to fully chain route. Looks like the Saurus Lord is done for. And we should be able to either cast our execution shortly or just chase him down. I suppose it won't matter much. The Jade Lion and the Jade Warriors are still fighting. Alright, there's the zoomies, and will the zoomies herald an X marks the spot? Or are you still gonna live? Okay. He's running. There it is. I was waiting for that. I was hoping that would happen earlier and a little bit more on cue, but oh well. With the death of the enemy lord, it looks like the Saurus seeing their Scarvet go down. Was that an old blood? Their lord, either way, go down. The rest of the Saurus will book it. The army will, by the looks of it, begin their chain route, and the battle will be ours yet again. Fantastic. I think this is pretty much it for Hexoatl. This is most of their stacks, and if we can do sufficient damage and destroy both of these stacks, we will be able to probably take out the rest of their settlements without any trouble. I haven't gotten too many shots of the Crowmen in this particular battle, unfortunately, but honestly, they weren't really fighting anything in this battle, and they were just chasing stuff down as it routed, which is generally what we're probably going to be using them for. Plus to spot the enemy. They're extremely fragile, after all, even if they do very decent damage. I'd love to see them face off against some of the enemy... face off against maybe some of the weaker enemy air units like Fellbats or Harpies or Furies, just to see who would come out on top, and maybe we'll get some of that action a little bit later on. After all, as you guys have been saying, there has been plenty of battle variety so far in this campaign, and I don't expect it to be any different as we keep going forward. Lots of enemies around and lots of opportunity for different matchups and rock, paper, scissors gameplay. Anyway, chase down the rest of the units. The second enemy lord, the little red-crested skink chief, taken out by the Jade Line, and it looks like the Crowmen and the Longmaw Riders, and I guess Yuan Bo himself, have taken out a decent number of the enemy infantry as they ran as well. Fantastic. Oh wow, the Alchemist is below half HP. I guess she lost so much HP from miscasting? Gotta be mindful of that, and maybe either get the anti-miscast chance reduction spell or point applied, or perhaps an item that would help with that a little bit. Keep it in mind. Alrighty, very nice. Once again, the lizard extermination is certainly proceeding apace now, and I don't believe Hexoatl, the settlement, or the faction has much of a chance remaining. We're going to heal up again, and this, between us being in our territory and the veneration here, should allow us to get to close to full HP. Alrighty, Jadewind Mountain still not besieged by any of our allies, which is good, because we don't want them to steal the territory from us, although I suppose we should, in theory, essentially be able to get a confederation going. Destroy crane gunners for relations with Goldtooth. No, that's not going to happen. Fight Gragas. This should be auto-resolvable. Yeah, definitely looks like it. Shouldn't be any problem. We'll just auto-resolve that, and oh, wow, that did way too much. You guys wouldn't have taken any damage at all. Really, game. Alright, well, we have no choice but to venerate. Damn, okay, I should be careful about fighting with the caravans, as that was very dangerous.
and the reports are as dire as I fear.
Ooh, quest battle.
This requires my personal attention.
All right, the Dragon's Fang control +1 all provinces is very, very much required, but otherwise the weapon doesn't seem all that strong in terms of the stats offered, though the ability isn't too bad. For 20 seconds only, at a fairly long cooldown, I wouldn't say it is one of the stronger weapons that I've seen, even if it is very strong for those 20 seconds. Anyway, we are going to fight this, but not at the current time, as we're a little bit busy with Illustria. We will obviously switch to this when it is advantageous. The enemy... Oh, wow, we can't actually see what the reinforcements are. So how am I to gauge whether our current army is ready for it, game? Don't appreciate it. But anyway, when's the magic cost for Overcast? Ooh, I know who overcasts their spells constantly. Shenma, you certainly do, so you can have the Scroll of Astromancy. Ooh, wow, cooldown reduction by 25% and miscast base chance. Yeah, we should try to get one of those Astromancer Spyglass would certainly be swell. Although, funnily enough, Shinma seems to be getting quite a bit of value out of this Scroll of Blast. We can always give it to somebody else. The traveling adventurers Gotrek and Felix are somewhere doing something. Wait, we can have access to Gotrek and Felix as well. Frankly, I don't really care for them, but interesting. I do want them to change up their implementation somewhat. A brass cleaver for upgrading a settlement to level 3. We're certainly working on that and are in fact nearly there. How's everybody else doing? You're still recruiting, but so is Lokir Felhart, and we'll need another army to be able to take this out, most likely. Although the defenses of Chimai are fairly lackluster. We do have quite a bit of range units here. Oh, but they do have Black Arc support, though you're on March stance. I gotta think about that. Either way, we won't have time for that right now. I do imagine that we should be able to auto-resolve you in Jade Mountain, so let's do that real quick while we're here. And... well, they do have some defenses and a rattling gun, but once again, it's primarily clan rats and Skaven slaves, and they just don't have any kind of chance. Kunlen might be a better option for us, which we'll head to shortly, but for now, well, let's attack. I wish we could switch the magics out between you and you, because you have much less, but oh well. And is Kunlen the last of the territories belonging to these guys? Yes, indeed it is. The rats are gonna be out of here real quick at this rate. Alrighty, auto-resolve this. We're also really going to want to get access to artillery as fast as possible. There we go, Jadewind Mountain is now ours. Cloak of Pomei, an augment of the winds enabled if out of melee. Interesting. Well, that's... damn, there's a lot of choices on what to put on our Alchemist there, because that seems pretty darn good as well. Alchemist's Elixir of Iron Skin Armor plus 90. You know what? That's a pretty good item specifically on the... on these guys and the Lord Magistrates, because they're not very good in melee in the first place. Probably want to put it on you. Yeah, not the Feather Foe Torque, that's for certain. You can have Shield of Talos. Nah, you know what, we could probably give that to somebody else. Potion of Foolhardiness, also not super useful to you. And you can't use the Cloak of Pomei. I'm just double checking everything, so yeah, Alchemist Elixir to you. Yuan Bo, you have leveled up again. Well, that's just swell, Olympia. Let's get you the Celestial Court Overseer, just so that we have your unique line completed. And now the question. Do we have you, who are never in melee, carry the Scroll of Astromancy at the cost of the Winds of Magic cost for Overcast spells, considering we constantly, basically non-stop, Overcast Searing Doom? We could transfer it to Yuan Bo, but we'll need to actually cast more stuff with him, and Overcast, which we most likely will with Net of Amantok and a bunch of the other stuff that he has, just that he doesn't have it as yet. Maybe leave it as it is for now, or wait. You know what? Maybe we'll give this to you then. To our Dragon-Blooded Shugengan. Let's give you the Cloak of Pomei, and then let's switch it out with the Scroll of Astromancy. And just for now. Because you're going to be overcasting Dragon's Breath quite a bit as well, and periodically Wall of Wind and Fire, so I see you getting value out of this as well. Anyway, oh, there is another stack here, which is interesting. I doubt that they'll attack. We need to be careful about overextending and allowing the rats to come back, but also allowing our allies to take Kunlun before we get there, which is just as problematic in my opinion. You are of the wrong market variety, are you not? Or am I mistaken? No, I'm not mistaken. You should be at income from Alba. You should be this one. Because... wait. Yeah, you should be that one. And because we're going to want to use the wares market if we want to keep, you know, with the harmony. I mean, I guess that doesn't change the fact that we want the animal store here, but I guess for now you can switch out. Hopefully you don't get taken out immediately, but we shall see. You're not going to move for now. You, however, are. We had another... oh, I guess that was from the Confederation. I was wondering where that lord came from. You. Going to go to Gehenna's Golden Hounds as well. Really maxing out this lore, but you know what? It'll prove very handy. You're going to kill off Olympia. And then you're going to... oh, man, I don't like any of these options. Tiny bit of healing. I don't think we'll be able to auto-resolve Hexoatl, although now that they don't have their... now they don't have a Guardian army, maybe we should wait the turn to allow it to get to level 3 so we could take it at level 2. Although honestly, it's not that big of a deal. And what I don't like about that is it would essentially mean we have to waste a turn with Yuan Bo. Which is also unfortunate. Anyway, either way, anyway, etc., etc., I think we are pretty much out of time this time around, so I'm going to, in fact, call the episode here. There's a few potential fights left over in this particular turn, so we'll start with those next time around, and then we'll take out the lizards, hopefully. These guys have 4 settlements left, so there's still probably at least one major fight against them, but we should be able to take Hexoatl next turn, and possibly Kunlun, and destroy the rats, as well as start a proper war with the Blessed Dread as we head towards them with multiple armies at the same time. Anyway, stay tuned for more Cathay. Don't forget to leave a like and comment. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.